When I was in the early days of my coaching business, a lot of people would say, I don't really want that many clients, but they didn't have enough clients. And so they're trying to find this weird balance between having the perfect, just really trying to get this perfect amount of clients, but not too many, but not too little. It's like, well, that's going to make it really hard for yourself. When I was in college, I used to lift weights a lot, and I'd run into people. Got some interesting noises from that one. Yeah. So I would run into people who would ask my advice, and they would say, I want to get in shape, but I don't want to get too big. I don't want to get too much muscle. And, what most people don't realize is how much work it takes to create a lot of muscle and how easy it is for that muscle to go away. You could work out for a year to build some decent amount of muscle and then not work out for 2 months and lose a lot of it. So, trying to find that perfection, it's just if you get too muscly, it's easy to just, work out a little bit less or stop lifting weights and just do other kinds of exercise. And so that fear of I don't want too much muscle, I don't want too much clients, I'm trying to go for this perfect thing. Sometimes you got to get way too much before you know what's the right amount. And guess what? You don't actually have to personally work with all 1,000 clients or thousands of clients that you guys generate. There's a lot of ways to help people. You can help people by working with them one-on-one. You can help people by working with them in groups. You could create masterminds. You could build a coaching team to coach other people for you. You could build what I would call a coaching business empire, where you're helping people and getting clients that are in programs like online training programs or attendees at live events, or writing best-selling books and just helping lots and lots of people. And you don't have to accept all the clients that want to work with you one-on-one. That's what happens when you get a relentless demand for people wanting to work with you. You can just keep raising your rates higher and higher and higher and higher. When I got started off in coaching, I was charging $195 a month for clients to work with me. And they didn't have to sign a long-term agreement. They could just do month to month, quit any time. And I started off my very first month as a coach when I was 25 years old. And I got 6 clients in my very first month as a coach. Yes! But they were not very high paying. They were $195 a month. They weren't on a long-term commitment, so they didn't stick around necessarily super long. I was $75,000 in debt from a previous business I'd started before starting my coaching business. All my credit cards maxed out. In the first few years of my business, I fell behind on my mortgage several times. Yeah, gosh. That little baby knows what a mortgage is, apparently. No. So, I would get some clients, I would lose some clients, fall behind on my car payment, my mortgage payment, catch back up, get a couple clients, catch back up. Since clients were on a month-to-month basis, towards the end of each client's month, before they would renew for the next month, my coaching session with them was I hope they don't, I wouldn't challenge them. One of the great things that we can do as a coach is challenge our clients. But I wouldn't, because I didn't want to do anything that would ruffle their feathers that would make them not want to renew. And I'd be on eggshells. Oh God, I hope they don't I hope they just let it roll over to the next month. Maybe they don't even realize that this could be the end of a month and the beginning of, I don't know, so much anxiety. And then I would have sessions with potential clients, and I'd be like, oh my God, please, 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 please say yes. Please, 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 please. If I get this client, I'll be able to make my mortgage payment this month. Oh my God. The first few years were such a roller coaster ride, ups and downs, highs and lows. I was working tons of hours, but not working with tons of clients. Can anyone relate to that? I'm creating a new program. I'm creating this program. I'm creating all this marketing. I'm working on my newsletter. I'm working on my website. I'm working on my logo. I'm working on my branding. I'm working on all these things that maybe don't even matter, but I didn't know that back then. And I was exhausted. And I was taking out the garbage one day, and I just thought, man, it would be easier to just have a regular job again. And a job as a garbage man actually sounded like a really good idea. I mean, literally, it was like, this would be better than what I'm doing right now. I wouldn't have to think so much, think so hard. And maybe they have good benefits. So I was taking out the garbage. I thought, man, maybe I should be a garbage man. And I was like, you know what? I'm quitting. I'm quitting this coaching thing. I'm going to get a regular job. And I called my best friend. We used to buddy coach each other all the time. And I said, look, I can't do this anymore. I gotta get a regular job. And I'm like, maybe I'll get a job as a garbage man. And he said, you're too much of a wuss. You wouldn't last 3 days there. And I was like, all right, you're probably right. And he also said, you're too good of a coach, and the world needs you, and you cannot go work a regular job. And I was like, oh, I know, but that's easy for you to say. You still live at home with your parents. You don't have any real bills. But he challenged me. And he said, let's both commit to reading a book every week. And I was like, I am a slow reader. I can't read one book in a week, let alone do it every week. He's like, no, we're going to do it. I'm like, I'm not one for taking on commitments lightly. If I make a commitment, I want to keep my commitments. So I'm not just going to be like, oh, yeah, all right, let's do it. So I was very slow to say yes. But once I did, I did it, and I started reading a book every week, and I did that for 36 weeks in a row. My buddy only lasted 3 weeks. And I read everything I could, business books, sales books, marketing, lots of personal growth books. Who here is into personal growth? You should be if you're a coach, right? God, if you're a coach and you're not into personal growth, dude, maybe you're just in it for the money, because money in coaching is incredibly good. The money in coaching is incredibly good, but I did not get into coaching for the money. I got into coaching for the love of helping people. And my goal when I got started was if I could just make the same kind of money I was making at my last job, but only work for myself, be my own boss, set my own hours, and do what I love for a living, and do something that actually makes a difference in people's lives, sign me up. But boy, did I not know what I was signed up for. Most entrepreneurs have said, if I knew how hard it was going to be when I started, I never would have got started. I would have just been too intimidated. One of the great things about most entrepreneurs is that we're optimists. We tend to think things are going to happen a lot faster and a lot easier than they do, which is a really good trait because it can help get you into the game when you might not otherwise. It can also lead to feeling deflated and doubting doubting yourself, doubting the process. Can this really work? And when I got started in coaching, there were not a lot of coaches out there. It was almost 20 years ago that I got started in coaching. And I was super young, and people didn't get what coaching was. And now people still don't get what coaching is. But at least it's mainstream. People at least have heard about it. People kind of get the idea, oh, okay, a life coach, a success coach, or Tony Robbins, or whatever. And there's all sorts of shows where the people on the show, there's a life coach that coaches, or a success coach, or a dating coach, or some kind of coach coaches somebody. And so it's way more prevalent, way more mainstream now than it ever has been. And when I got started, and I was charging $195 a month, slowly I started raising my fees. And when I finally got to around $595 a month, I started having a more consistent income. I also was super worried about losing my house. I was when I was in my super struggle period, I was oh my God, if I lose my house, I felt like I was going to die. And this is one of the breakthrough moments for me, because I knew that I couldn't figure out, if I lost my house, I knew I literally wouldn't die. And I suspected I wouldn't actually be homeless, because I had friends and family that I could move in with probably, or sleep on someone's couch for a while, or even just sleep in my car for however long I could make those payments. But I was am I really afraid of being homeless? Am I really afraid of sleeping in my car? Am I really afraid of having to sleep on someone's couch? I'm not. I don't know, what am I afraid of? And I realized that what I was really afraid of was to feel the shame and embarrassment of losing my house. And this was a long time ago, where before the housing crisis happened, where a lot of people were losing their houses and it wasn't their fault. It was predatory lending, or the market, or whatever, or people were doing strategic walkaways just because it didn't make sense to keep making payments on a house that was only worth half of what you paid for it. So there was a lot more stigma and to losing your house and getting your house foreclosed on. So, but even still, it had nothing to do with what other people thought. It really had to do with what I thought. And I didn't know this at the time, but I grew up on welfare. My parents got divorced when I was 9, and my mom was raising 4 kids on a waitress's income. I was wearing hand-me-downs from my brothers who were 9 and 10 years older than I am. So I was wearing clothes a decade out of style. And I would get teased at school for my clothes. And then I was the only one in my family that needed glasses. And because we didn't have a lot of money, I didn't get the cool glasses. I got the Urkel glasses. And then they broke, and I literally had the tape on the glasses. And I had so much insecurity in school as it was. And then, people would come by and tease me for all kinds of things, for my clothes and all. And so I had a lot of shame, and the truth is that kids are going to tease kids for anything, for your hair, for whatever. So, I just happened to get teased for that, but I didn't know that at the time, and I made up in my mind I was getting teased because I was poor, and that if I was rich, then people would accept me and like me. And there's this kid in school, Ron, and he got these brand new fruity-smelling markers. And I watched, everybody was like, I want to use your markers, I'll be your best friend. Oh my gosh, that's the key to friendship. If I only had nice markers, then everybody would love me. And the funny thing is that those markers probably, maybe my parents even could have afforded markers, a couple bucks for a pack of markers, but it felt so like something only the rich kids would have. By the way, if we can make it a little cooler or a lot cooler in here, that would be super duper awesome for me. So I didn't know this, but back in my childhood, all this shame around being poor, and that now when I was young, I was able to buy my own house, and I'm I'm so successful. I have my own house, my own 950 square foot crappy house, but I was proud of it. 3 bedrooms, 950 square feet. How the hell? I'm like, what? How? At the time, it felt, I was like, oh. And then if I was going to lose it, I was like, oh, my God. And so I had all this shame tied up if I lose my house. Plus, what kind of success coach would I be that I can't even make my house payments? Like, nobody will hire me then. But one of the books I read in my 36 books in 36 weeks was a book called The Prophet. Who here has read The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, however you pronounce his name? That, like that. Anyway, that book is amazing. Definitely on my, wow, I don't think we give that book to our Bigs, but it's a really good one. Maybe we'll have to add it to the Bigs book list. Yeah. It's definitely it's probably the most quoted book per page or per word of any other book, maybe aside from, I don't know, maybe more than the Bible. I'm not sure. Not to say that it's better than the Bible. I'm not saying. And I know the Bible's quoted a lot, but the Bible is really big, and the prophet is really thin. But if you look at quotes, like practically every paragraph of the prophet, is a quote. It's really profound. And one of the sections is on work. And he talks about how if you bake bread, but you don't love baking, you're gonna bake a bitter bread. You're gonna put some negative energy into that. If you make clothes and you with a bitter heart, the clothes won't be great. And ultimately, he said, it's better to be a beggar and beg for money than to do work that you don't like. And that you should be doing work you love was the ultimate bottom line of it. And I was like, all right. So if I lose my house, I lose my car, and I'm homeless, but I'm doing what I love, so be it. And when I realized the stuff about the shame about the house, and I let that go, and I let go of trying to look successful and trying to pretend to be successful and trying to keep up appearances, I was able to relax and just focus on the number one most important thing was helping clients. Getting clients and helping them.